As Max mentioned about defining ESG, it stands for Environment, Social, and Governance Assurance. So I'll try today to give you like a background. I know there are lots of details. Some of our colleagues here who are doing PhDs will be going more in details in some specific aspects. So I'll just make sure that I'll draw the scene for some kind of knowledge about ESG assurance. So the first thing, of course, everyone is very familiar with that, is where ESG came from and why it's popular, why it's getting this kind of attention. The first thing was something called the SDGs. I'm sorry, I'm using lots of abbreviations today, which stands for Sustainability Development Goals, which are 17 goals. They are released by the United Nations as part of the Sustainability Development Agenda, where it's around various topics. It's not just about pollution or climate change or renewable energy, but includes as well some areas around poverty and human rights. So it's a very interesting topic. The reason it's very important and is very catchy, as I call it, is that it's a very wide topic. It's not that very specific. So as you can see from the 17 goals here, every one of these goals can cover lots of things and can be interpreted in a different way. The thing I'm trying to focus on today is more of an accounting. Okay, how accountants, I don't want to go into the details of ESG and sustainability agenda, but I'd like to more focus on accounting today. So the first kind of thing we need to understand that where we know this information from. We know this information from the annual reports, which is the traditional classical way of communication of organizations with the public or the key stakeholders. So the one of thing which is important here, that environmental information might fall outside expertise of accountants. So although we talk about ESG is very important, it's not something that accountants are not very familiar with. All right, and it's outside their, as I call it, comfort zone. So for example, if you're doing a qualification like a CPA or ACA or ECCA or CIMA, whatever, you're not having something called sustainability accounting paper or a sustainability accounting exam, right? So you normally know about financial accounting, management accounting, audit, tax, and law. That's mainly the key things. So sustainability accounting is not very popular for this reason. However, it's growing area. Is very important because people are more interested in knowing more about not just on sustainability agenda, but who going to be held accountable for the sustainability agenda. And that's why you need to understand first who are the key stakeholders. So the first one is the potential individual investors. So also the people who are very interested to know whether you're eco-friendly or not, whether you are investing their money in something which is against the 17 SDG or SDGs. Whether the company is ethical, whether the company is not using any high pollutant products or high pollutant services that might affect the whole environment just to bring me my dividends or bring me my profit. So some people are having their own ethical and sustainable agenda. And that's why organizations are seeing growing number of investors who are really keen about making sure that this agenda is satisfied through their investments in the organization they are investing in. The other thing about the institutions or the institutional investors or corporate investors who are not. So it's not just about individual investors, but actually organization, what we call institutional investors are really interested in this agenda as well. So the first reason why it's important is because it affects how active or how powerful is your organization in attracting funds, whether through individual investors or organization investors, because we're seeing a growing interest in this agenda over the years. So the issue with the reporting, which, as I mentioned, is the main key function of organization. One of them is how are we going to report that? Where are we going to put it? Is it going to be the annual report? Is it going to be different report? And I'll share with you some areas and ideas that showing you that they're not always consistent. Some organization put it in annual report. Some organization put it as a supplementary report. Some of the organizations put it as a web report. So there are lots of discretionary in this area. So some companies are very, very active, just responding to the needs rather than being proactive, which is a problem as well. And they always, most of organizations, especially with reporting, priority number one is compliance, how we comply with regulations. And because environmental disclosures or environmental regulations are a bit delayed in terms of reporting, lots of organizations take it as an add-on thing rather than a core reporting function of the annual report.